Lipo tower, you're going to have your tumescent will hang here, your infiltration will be here, your PAL will be here, and then your suction canisters will be here. When you get it, you will not have any of this in here, so you'll open one of these, pop it in here, and it will come like this. One needs to attach to the back over here. This will also come together. And then this one will attach to your first right here. You will have non-sterile suction tubes. All this is non-sterile out here. From here to here. This is actually what's giving you your suction from the machine. And then one from here. And then when you're setting up your infiltration, normally you're gonna set it up from 250 to 300 or 350. We'll start at 250 for your flow rate. Press enter, and you'll automatically have a flow rate of 250 mLs per minute for your tumescent. This is just a standard start for most of our doctors here, and then I'll show you how to set up the tumescent in just a second. So when you're starting basic lipo, this is not to fat graft. You'll have PAL tubing. This is what your fat is going to be sucked through. Then you'll have infiltration tubing. This is what your tumescent is going to be run through. And then you'll have an infiltration cannula. This comes in our infiltration set. Most doctors are going to want to use the long infiltration cannula. So when you start from here, this lure lock will come off. Always save this because you can reattach it, and that way you don't leak out fluid anywhere. This just goes straight on there. We do have a few doctors who will say they want their infiltration on power. If they want it on power, you will cut off this section and apply it to our PAL cannulas, and I'll show you that in a second. The rest of this tubing is going to go to your nurses. So you'll hand this off. Your nurses will spike it from here. You want to make sure you have enough loose here to where you can go on the track and underneath this little spike thing right here, this little fork looking thing. And if it's off the track, it will not run. You always want to check on the back side too. And I missed it on this track, so we'll go back over here. If you have a real patient, you would spike this before, but obviously we do not. So since this is already clamped off, you're not going to be running fluid. To test it, I always start the pump. When you hear it go like this, that means you're in the right track. This will go all the way through, and you'll want to prime it to where you have no bubbles in the line still. So you'll go all the way through. So then the next thing you're going to do after you infiltrate is set up your PAL for your suction. You're going to want to use the powered hand piece. This piece right here has no power. It's just a handle. None of our doctors use this piece, so you don't have to worry about that. So the PAL will set up silver side, red button to red button. The other side will go to your nurse off your fields. All of our doctors use the hand control for the power and the foot control for the suction. So that will go there and it'll automatically turn on. You will not get this screen until this is plugged in. Most of our doctors are going to use the flared Mercedes to tunnel. So that's going to be the one that has like the exploding tip on it. You have a 4 and a 5 millimeter in short and long. Then you're going to have your basic just Mercedes tips. Through here, this is 4 and 3 millimeter. And then you have the same over here, just in different, like specialized. I've never seen anybody use the spiral one, but it's there. So we'll start and pull off a 4 millimeter Mercedes, flared and straight. So after you have done tumescent, you're going to go ahead and start sucking the fat back out. You'll attach the small end, tapered end of your PAL tubing. You'll always want to do this first so it lines up correctly. Pop that straight end, and then it's gonna go through this channel here. And then now it's ready for your doctors to use. They should have power control here. And then you wanna make sure both of these on the suction are flipped up to where the on is. This will give them foot control with our suction. But before you do that, you're going to attach the bigger end of our pal tubing here. All that went on, those are both flipping to the top. You're going to have hand power control here, and you'll have suction control with the black pedal. This tan pedal here. And I'll show you how that works. Just press it, and then this is gonna start running through. This one you have to press and hold down like a pedal for a car. Run that fluid. And turn off, and you're good to go. After you're done with this tumescent, keep this thing that we kept earlier, the red stopper, we're gonna reattach that. So if anyone during the case steps on that on and off, you're not gonna flood the room. Okay, stop there. Fat grafting is gonna come in this lovely orange box right here. You're definitely gonna need scissors or something to break the seal from the tape. When you open this, you'll wanna have somebody open it to you, because that bottom tray where the Revolve tray is kind of hard to get out by yourself. So you're gonna have two different tubings, a blue coated and a yellow coated tubing. You're gonna have your Revolve stand and container here. And then this is probably the most important piece of this case. It's gonna be the adapter. You do not want to drop this. Okay, so when I set this up on my table, I always have the Revolve sitting on the side corner, and I always face the numbers to the field, so the surgeon can always gauge where he's at during the case. When you open up, this blue tubing is gonna be for suction. One end stays sterile, one end goes off the field to your nurse. And then this will plug in to where our pal tubing plugs in for regular lipo. So you'll just pop it right in there. These are all color coded. So you have blue, and it will tell you for vacuum. The red is to vent. We only vent that during our washing process. The yellow is for the patient, so that's where our pal tubing is gonna go to. This pal tubing right here is too big for this to fit. So we need to cut off the slack to where it starts to taper down, and then that way it'll fit on this correctly. I usually go to the second bend, is usually the first cut that I'll make. And if it's still too loose, then I'll go one more bend and see if that fits better. And that's still a little too loose, so I'll go to the third. Maybe even a little bit more. You want it to fit on pretty snugly, so you get a good seal. There you go, a lot better. So this will all stay on your field and be sterile. This pal tubing, just like before for regular liposuction, is gonna go to our handpiece. Silver to silver, red to red for the dots. And then this will also go off your field to your nurse. It will go in our hand control spot here to control the power. And then we'll pick a cannula for the pal. The doctors do not mind going through and picking their own cannulas as well. So you want to attach the tapered end to the back of the cannula. Here. So for these, to keep them sterile, a lot of times I will take this and run this tubing underneath my mayo so it's on the patient, and then that way it's not all on my nail here. So now we have a complete closed loop. You'll have power control here. You'll have section control here. Just make sure both buttons are in the up position in order to get foot control suction. Tap it once, it'll turn suction on. You'll have power in the hand. This way you can take the fat from the patient. It will go through this tubing here and land in the Revolve. Once you've collected enough fluid, you're gonna have a maximum line here of 300 mLs for 350 for how much fat you can get. It's hard to get that much, but if you go a little bit over it, don't worry about that too. Just don't go all the way up to the top. So after you've gotten all your fat, you're gonna take off this PAL tubing and you're gonna be completely done with this. So you can take this off to the side. These yellow buttons, and some of ours are broken, so you'll have to put the hemostat on your field if this isn't there. Yellow tubing. This tubing is also going to go off to your nurse, and you'll have one end for yours. So it's still color coordinated. This is going to go to our LR. You do want to make sure it's warmed and not freezing cold. This is going to be spiked and go to the nurse here. Alright. So once you have this spiked here from this end, a lot of times you have to give it kind of a good squeeze to get it to fill up a little bit faster. And you'll see it filling up through here. You want to go about halfway. I never like to go too far on it. And then you're going to clamp that up. I usually do 30 one direction and then 30 the other. There's a paddle inside that's going to sit there and turn the fat. That way you're gonna get all the epi, all the local, all the oils separated from the fat and nice and clean. Before you turn on the suction, you wanna make sure you have this vented. This is the only time during the case where that will be open. All right, so in order to do suction, you're gonna keep it on this foot control pedal over here. You'll hit that once. That's gonna suck out all of your fluid. So once you have that first pass done, tap it a little bit, make sure the fat's still in there pretty good. If the fat is bloody, I will do a second run. If the fat looks like a nice, pretty tequila sunrise, is my goal, stop there. Some doctors want you to do 3 washes, some want you to do 1. Some is pulling teeth to even get 1 wash done. So we're gonna go ahead and do 1 more wash. Clamp this back off. We'll do our turns again, 30 one direction, 30 the other, and back off. Okay, so once we have that done, we're gonna re-vent it. We will be done with all of these tubings. So after we have it all, the fat's all nice and dry, we'll come over and we'll have a 2-me syringe. This will go in that yellow quart. And then we'll have that amazing adapter piece that I told you not to lose. I usually do not open it until right before I'm ready to use it. That way, if it falls off the field, your nurse can open it for you and it's still sterile. So from here, you're gonna take this 2-me, you're gonna place it into this yellow canister and hold it up. If you can't do 2 hands like here, hold it like this close to your body, and then pull up like this if you need the extra support, if you can't hold it like that. So after you get the fat in here, you usually open about 4 to 5 of these. You will have some fat remaining on this micro edge filter. Take it and really bang it, really, really good. It's gonna loosen up all the fat on the remaining sides. It's gonna scare anesthesia, but it'll make lots of loud noises. And I can usually get about another 20 to 30 fat just off the filter, just like that. So once you have the fat and you're ready to go with that, you will open this filter piece, or this adapter piece. It will slip on the tubing here, and then lure lock to your tens. You'll already have the fat loaded in here. The best, easiest way to do it without hurting your hands is put it on like your xiphoid, and then just push the fat through. If you ever feel resistance, stop, take it off. You'll have a fibrous piece either caught in here or caught in here. If you try to push through it, the back of this will shoot off and you'll get fat everywhere. So you'll do that just a couple of times and you'll have a whole bunch of tens lined up. So just right on your sternum, pull it through. You can also hold your hands here to kind of help guide it, and then that way you don't risk shooting it across. So that's how you do the Revolve. You will need, after you get the fat into here, you will need a Liposuction set or fat grafting cannula set. And then you'll either use a cannula like this. They're all blunted, so they're not gonna do any damage. Or a cannula like this to redo the fat, or to implant the fat. And then the fat will be through here. Same thing, if you meet resistance, the doctor will pull it out through here. Sometimes if they can't reach it, you'll give them an acid with teeth, and then that way they can really pull that fibrous fat out. And then they'll inject it through there, and that is it. Lipografter. This does not require the PAL. The only thing you're gonna need is the infiltration for tumescent, just like with any lipo. And then you're gonna get the Lipografter. It's gonna have 3 separate parts. That's gonna come in this box. It needs to be given to you by a nurse because the bottom of the packaging is not sealed. So there's no way to open it to your field sterilely. So you need to have somebody hand it to you. I'm gonna tell you what Dr. McLaughlin calls that. You will also need 2 18-gauge needles for this process, or 2 18 cannulas. And I usually bring 2 10 cc syringes, one to kind of help get any kind of fat or any kind of oil that gets backed up in here, and then one to actually use to re-put the fat in. So the Liposuction comes with its own instruments. And what will be in that will be a tumescent cannula, and then you'll have a cannula similar to our PALs that will take the fat out from the patient. This will be your tubing. Everything will be done from the field. You will not need the PAL machine. You will just need infiltration. That'll be it. So you're gonna grab the handpiece, and you're gonna notice arrows on it. You're gonna have this arrow right here, which the fat is going to come in from. And then you're gonna have this one, which the fat is going to go out of. You have to give me a second, hold on. The stopcock is gonna go in the bottom of here. You're gonna have the part where the fat comes from the patient is gonna go in here, so the fat will come in. Then you will have the baggy system that will go onto the top arrow, which the fat will go into. You're gonna take these 18-gauge hypos and you're gonna vent the bag. So it'll go through this port here and then vent in. This way, when you're collecting the fat, any air that gets trapped in there, you can burp that air out, and then that way you can just have only fat in there. So from this point, the fat will come in. The cannula that comes with the Lipografter does have a lure lock attachment. That's why we can't use our POW with it. So we'll use that. They'll get the fat in. It's very important that you keep the air out of this. So they're gonna get all of their vacuum pressure from you. So you're gonna wanna keep it like that. And then slowly as that builds up, the fat will come in. If you get too much air in, they're not gonna have enough suction. So you have to push that back out. The fat will automatically go into here. There's no need to change anything. And you wanna keep as much air out as possible, and that way they have the best suction power. And you'll do that a few times. This will get full. Once this gets full, you clamp it off before you take it off or you will lose fat. So it's clamped off. You'll need a Alice or a hemostat, and you're gonna wanna clip this on the side of your mayo because gravity is gonna separate the fat and the oil and whatever tumescence left in it at the bottom. So you just wanna clip that onto your mayo over the patient. So this needs to be high enough that it'll get gravity separation and you won't risk this falling off on the floor. So you'll do that a couple of times. Once you have all of your bags filled, you'll kind of, I don't know, decanting the right word? Sure. Sure. You'll open this right here and you'll get out all of the water and the fluid. You don't need to have that 18 gauge still in there, but you'll get all the water and the fluid separated. And then once you get to the fat, you'll clamp it back off. You'll do that with all 4 bags or however many bags that you do. Okay, so once you have all of your bags filled and you have all of the fat separated and taken out, you're going to change this around. You no longer need this piece, so this piece can go away. You'll have your syringe that will go here to go back into the patient. So the 10 cc is gonna go at the bottom where the handpiece was, and it's gonna attach to the cannula that they're gonna use to put the fat back in. You're gonna get the fat back into your 10 cc syringe with that right there. It's gonna connect to your bag. You'll save that stopper so you can close this back off. So when you pull now, you're gonna be getting fat that's gonna come through this bag into your 10 cc syringe, and then the doctor can put it straight into the patient and then redraw back until the whole bag is done. And they'll just do that over and over again. When they're getting low, you usually have about 10 cc's left in the line. So they're getting low, clamp it off just so you don't get anything messy on you. And then you'll just switch out bags onto the next one. Sometimes it's easier if you kind of hold it hanging up a little bit, but same thing, pull it out and it'll push back through here. That is all for Liposuction.